November 7 at 5:40 p.m. Unit 1, Section 3. This is the treatment plan. Inspiration, discipline, and weakness. 1. Inspiration. Inspiration and motivation are cool. They're the spark that gets you started. They come from the art that you consume, movies, shows, fictional characters, quotes, or songs that move something inside you. Write them down, hang posters on your heroes. Motivation and inspiration are often used in the same sentence, but they are very different. Inspiration and motivation come from sources outside of you. They are less personal and more universal. For example, they can come from fictional characters you relate to, songs, movies, or quotes. Someone else's inspiration can be the same as yours. I want to reiterate that motivation and inspiration are exactly the same thing. It's just that it's like the English vocabulary. There's a lot of words in the English vocabulary that mean the same thing. Like men, boys, I don't know. So when it comes to inspiration or motivation, when I talk about either one of those two, they mean the exact same thing. For me, I find a lot of inspiration in movies. My favorite superhero is Spider-Man. He inspires me to do better and to help people. I believe I have that power too, because as Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, Uncle Ben said that. Uncle Ben said it. But I have the knowledge to help people, and I want to use it for good. But Spider-Man inspires millions of people. Inspiration is often replaceable. He isn't the only thing that moves me. That's what she said, by the way. I'm inspired by many other things, like Machine Gun Kelly's music, Lana Del Rey, right? My favorite YouTubers, and the other art that I consume. If you're struggling to identify your inspiration or inspirations, ask yourself, what makes me happy? When was the last time I laughed? Inspiration doesn't have to come from a fictional character, and it doesn't even have to be alive. It does have to be alive. It could be as simple as a tree. You can find inspiration in a tree because it's always growing, or like a bonsai tree, like in The Karate Kid, always finding the beauty in life. You can also make a Spotify playlist of your favorite songs, create a list of movies you love or places you want to visit, or you can collect quotes that inspire you, and you can display them where you can see them, or in a book, or posters on the wall, or you can do like I do, hang papers on the wall and just write with the pen and paper and tape them to the wall. Find at least one source of inspiration. Everybody has at least one inspiration. Inspiration/motivation will come and go, because there's going to be times in your life where a certain person or a certain type of music will inspire you at different points in your life. Number 2 is discipline. Discipline is a concrete formwork. It's like back in Unit 1 when we talked about building that foundation. Discipline is another form of the foundation. Without it, there is no house. Discipline guides how your efforts are and shapes and ensures progress continues even when inspiration and motivation fades. Discipline, on the other hand, is personal. Discipline comes from your life, your family, friends, struggles, or responsibilities. Discipline is your reason to never stop giving up. Sometimes inspiration and discipline can overlap. For me, my discipline includes my 2 dogs, my future love life. Discipline keeps you going when you don't feel like doing the work. Discipline is real, it's concrete. Not everyone has a dog named Candy or Scooby. Only I do. Discipline matters most on the days you don't want to move forward. Even when the roof leaks, the concrete foundation remains firm. I mean, hypothetically, if the house is very old, and then yes, the foundation could possibly crack underneath the house. I mean, hypothetically. But in theory, don't think too much about it, but in theory, discipline is like concrete. It is always going to be there. My dogs keep me getting out of bed in the morning. If I choose to get up or if I choose to sleep in for another hour, they will most likely pee on themselves, right? They give me the motivation, but they also give me the discipline to keep going. If I choose to give up, who would care for them? Because I love them, but who's going to love them tomorrow if I leave this world, right? I think about you guys know what I'm about to say, right? I think a lot about depression. I think a lot about ending my own life. But then I think about my dogs. You need to find a form of discipline that keeps you going. If I choose to give up, who would care for them? I want to give them a better life. Living with my parents, they are not allowed in the house, and it hurts me because they have to sleep and live outside 100% of the day, and the only time that I get to see them is when I go outside. My discipline also drives me to make the best YouTube videos that I can possibly, because I want to become financially stable and eventually buy my own house so my dogs can live inside with me. I struggle with depression and dark thoughts. My dogs keep me going. I will always be a dog person because I need someone to care for. And I love them too much to leave them. Another form of discipline is my future wife. I don't have her yet, but one of my life goals is to find love. I know. I'm a romantic at heart. I want to find a girl who loves me for my insanity. I must become better for her. When I'm tired, when I feel like giving up, when my mind goes dark, I remind myself. I say these words to myself. If not for me, and then for her. Then I also say, if not for me, and then for my dogs. If not for me, and then for blank. You can fill in the blank with whatever or whoever matters most to you. Discipline carries you until you become the version of yourself capable of loving fully. Sometimes you have to learn how to love yourself first before loving something else. RuPaul, a drag queen. Oh, that's a funny. I gotta insert that in the playlist. Anyway, RuPaul, his famous quote is, "Drag queen." RuPaul's favorite quote is, "If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else?" Right? And it's completely true. If you can't love yourself, if you can't find discipline, if you're having trouble finding discipline, try to find things that you do love. You don't necessarily have to love yourself. For self-improvement, that'll come naturally later. But if you're struggling with self-esteem and finding purpose in life, sometimes finding purpose in other things and other people, it will carry you. It will help you with your self-improvement journey. And I really hope that makes sense. I really do. Sometimes you have to become selfless. Not selfish, but selfless. Sometimes you have to not worry about yourself, but worry about other people. If you're having trouble, try to find people or a type of movie that you like and try to love that instead of loving yourself if you're having trouble with that.
Ladies, congratulations. And remember, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else? If you can't love yourself,
Right.
If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else? Right? So you want to apply that analogy to it. Become selfless, don't become selfish. Right? If you're having problems coming up with some form of inspiration, motivation, or discipline, try to flip that around and try to find the beauty in the things that you surround yourself in. And you can flip this quote around. I mean, how in the hell can you love yourself when you can't love somebody else, right? It's the same analogy, but just the complete opposite. Now this
This is what I mean by the drag queen.
Oh. Yeah, no, but this was gigantic. This is the first time a drag queen has ever been put on the cover. A drag queen? A drag queen. I am the queen of drag.
Yo, Jimmy Kimmel's. That's not Jimmy Kimmel. That's Fallon. I can't believe I just said that. Jimmy Fallon's life flashed before his eyes. But
anyway, I linked that video here in the playlist, just for something that you can laugh at. It's so funny. This is a video about self-improvement, and here we are laughing about funny videos. Alright. Number 3 is weakness. Run diagnosis on yourself. Every house needs inspection. Every machine needs checks. Your weaknesses are software errors in the system. The cracks in the concrete. Identify them and track your progress. Analog tools like journals, sticky notes, or hanging them on your wall works the best. Identify them and track your progress. I can't believe I said that twice. The machine doesn't want you to think, but we don't scroll here in the asylum. No. We record. We reflect, we rebuild. How can we become better if we still have weaknesses? Believe it or not, every new construction of a house will always have something to fix. For example, in my childhood home, we had moles. Not moles, but the animal, like the moles that pop up in the backyard. We had moles living in the backyard, and the garage floor and the patio were cracked. The concrete was cracked. And then the house in Tennessee that we lived in for 2 years, it was a new construction, but the builders made a mistake and installed the pipes upside down. So when it rained, it flooded the basement, and so, which we had to fix. And then now moving back to Washington, our current house now, the house that I'm living at right now, well, it was cracked because the construction workers parked a bulldozer in it and left tire marks all over the garage floor. But guess what? They fixed it for free. What I'm saying is that there will always be something to fix, even when it's new. So when you're starting your self-improvement journey, don't ignore your weaknesses. When you're starting a self-improvement journey, even though it's new you, new year, new me, there's always going to be something to fix, so don't ignore the weaknesses that you have. Because what's the point of starting self-improvement? I mean, yeah, you can wake up at 4 a.m., go on a jog, eat healthy, intermittent fast, not watch porn. You can be the best version of you, but if you still don't know how to tie your own shoes, yes, I didn't know how to tie my own shoes until I was 24. Actually, I am 24. That was about 6 months ago. I just learned it. I'm not even joking with you. I'm not. What's the point of saying all this wisdom when you still watch porn? Right? Oh, you can meditate 3 hours a day, but you don't know how to cook. You know what I mean? We all have weaknesses, physical or mental. Weaknesses need to be addressed, even when you don't think they need fixing. For example, I had a speech impediment. I still do have one, but until the age of, I think about 20, I struggled to pronounce the letters R, C, H, and S. I always avoided saying my last name, Morley. And beforehand, it would always be Moe, Moe. It was. And it humiliated me in school. I tried to improve on it. In middle school, the bullying got so bad that I actually decided to do something about it. Which is a good thing, right? But I had no sense of a routine. I didn't know how to make a routine. I didn't know how to make goals in life. I had no foundation. I had no why. I didn't establish my why. I mean, I knew I wanted to fix my speech impediment because I got bullied so much, but I didn't, in my mind, I didn't address my why. I didn't ask why. I had no foundation, so I failed. I had no game plan. I started off strong watching endless YouTube tutorials, practicing in front of the mirror for an hour, repeating my last name in bed. Moe, Moe. I would lay in bed and just repeat my last name to myself, among other words as well. And I would study hard for 8 hours on the weekends, but I would forget it all about it the next day. I would go weeks or months without practicing because I hated the sound of my voice. And then also I would binge study for a week and quit. I would go through these phases of I would study real good for every day for 3 hours after school. And then I go through these phases of not practicing at all for 6 months or a couple years. And then also too, I was frustrated by the lack of progress. In reality, I had no foundation to start with. That's why I failed. Eventually, I became weak-minded and convinced myself that I was supposed to speak the way that I did forever. I thought I was supposed to speak Moe for the rest of my life. When I would say the number 4, it was po, po. I can't even replicate it, but I sounded like a 2-year-old kid, or a 5-year-old kid, because I don't know if you're 2, you can even talk, but I sounded like a child. When I was 16, I talked like I was a child. I wish I had videos of myself talking before I fixed my speech impediment. I don't have any videos of me because I was too insecure of tracking my progress. But eventually I became weak-minded and convinced myself that I was supposed to speak like this forever. I got so good at avoiding certain words and situations that I no longer was being bullied for my speech because nobody heard me speak, which makes sense, right? When the class did popcorn reading, oh my god, I hated popcorn reading, I would literally leave for the bathroom the whole period. I didn't care what the students or teachers thought. I got good at avoiding people, even skipping school once. I think that the teachers knew that I had a speech impediment. I think they knew. You know, every time I would go to the bathroom and I would be gone for 45 minutes. The first couple of times, the teachers, were like, yo, why were you gone for so long? And after a while, they just stopped asking questions. Because I think they knew. Because after a while, the teachers stopped picking on me to read. Because sometimes when we would popcorn read, sometimes it was up for the teachers. We also did popsicle sticks. The teachers would pick out popsicle sticks with your name on it. Then whoever name came on, you had to read. But after a while, I didn't have to read. I don't know if they kept pulling my name or what. I don't know. But I think they knew because they stopped asking questions. And I also got good at lying. I did this once with the substitute teacher. I told, when I came back from the bathroom, I just told him I was on my period. It works, right? It did. For example, in ninth grade, I avoided a spelling bee by telling my parents I didn't want to go, and I didn't go. They let me stay home. I have no idea why, but they let me stay home that day. Because the day before, in my English class, the teacher said, "Okay, class, tomorrow we're gonna have a spelling bee." And so when I came home that day, after that, after the teacher told us, for the whole day I was just, oh my god, how am I gonna do this? I don't know. I don't even know how to say the letter R. This is crazy. So the whole day I was just thinking, how can I avoid this? How can I avoid this? And I thought, I just won't go to class. And I said, you know what? Why not? I just don't go to school at all the next day. I became comfortable with not doing anything. I would come home from school, do my homework, avoid public speaking, and opt for an F on projects to avoid reciting essays in class. But I would make up for it by doing super well on tests and other assignments because I knew I needed that F. That's the only reason why I was always a straight B plus or B minus student. Because I always had to make room for that F. I would always get A's on my test, A's on my homework, because I knew that if I didn't study for that test, I would not have enough room for me to get an F on a presentation that I had to talk in front of the class. Every single presentation that involved talking in front of the class, I got an F in because I never showed up. Or I just didn't do the assignment. So in my mind, I knew that if I wanted to go to college, if I wanted to make my parents proud, I have to be a straight B plus student if I didn't want to talk in class. And the teachers were nice. The teachers always offered for extra credit, or I could redo the assignment, and I never did because I didn't want to talk in front of class. I didn't even want to talk in front of the teacher. Even then, some of the teachers went up to me and said, "Hey, Alyssa, I know that public speaking is a bit scary. Maybe at lunch you can come in at lunch and you could just talk to me just one-on-one." And I said no. I never had any purpose in life. I would always play video games and that's it. No outside learning, no new skills, and I wasn't happy. I was living life for the machine. And I was not living my life as a patient of the asylum, but for the machine. I wasn't my own person anymore. I lived each day according to the algorithm, what the algorithm told me to be. Doing what people expected of me. And then in 2021, I decided to make a YouTube channel. But I thought, how can I make a YouTube channel when I can't even talk properly? The weakness that I pretended I didn't have, or the weakness that I ignored, ended up being the sole reason why I couldn't start a YouTube channel sooner. Because I originally wanted to make a YouTube channel when I was 16. I love YouTube. But I had too much social anxiety for me to start making a YouTube channel. And then fast forward to when I started my self-improvement journey, I thought, I'll make a YouTube channel. I had to learn how to speak before I could start talking to people. So my first goal was to learn how to pronounce my R's correctly. And this took me 2 years. 2023 was my first YouTube video. Not on this channel, I made a whole different channel. But I re-uploaded my very first YouTube video on this channel. If you want to watch, it's linked in the playlist. But the meaning behind this is that your weakness might not seem like a problem now, but later in life it will matter. Because I got comfortable avoiding the work. I got comfortable with avoiding my weaknesses because I found ways not to improve. My brain was rotting and I didn't even know it. I was a patient of the machine and not a patient of the insane asylum. I was living the way people wanted me to, not the way that I wanted. I didn't improve on my speech impediment of a few reasons. I had social anxiety, hearing myself talk, didn't want to make myself improve. It sounds funny, because of course you have to talk for you to improve. I hated hearing my own voice, so practicing felt like hell to me. And people say, "Oh, girl, it's your what they say? It's your body, your choice. You have to be comfortable in your own skin, girl." And so I use that as an excuse that, oh, I have to embrace my weaknesses. My body, my choice. In some situations, that is true. It's your body, your choice. You have to embrace who you are. But there's some weaknesses that you cannot ignore, that you have to defeat on your own. Another one of my weaknesses that I developed not too shortly after I started self-improvement is that I've been diagnosed with empty cell syndrome and reactive hypoglycemia. I won't go into detail with what they are. If you're interested, I posted a couple of videos on my channel talking about my daily struggles with having those conditions. But just so you guys understand that empty cell syndrome is a brain condition. It's not cancer. It's just a disorder where my pituitary gland. Everyone has a pituitary gland, and everyone has it's in the shape of a little ball. And my pituitary gland happens to be flat. And so with that, it affects my hormones because the pituitary gland is responsible for hormones. And then with my reactive hypoglycemia, it causes low blood sugar. So when I eat food, my blood sugar drops. And since it's called reactive, my body is always reacting to everything that I do in life. When I walk, when I get up, when I stand, when I brush my teeth, when I blink, my blood sugar is constantly affected. My blood sugar is never high. It's either normal or it's extremely low. I have difficulty exercising because of it. I have gained nearly almost 20 pounds since I've been diagnosed with it about 3 years ago, which was right around when I started self-improvement. How much of a coincidence is that you want to become better, you want to start a new life, and then life tries to give you another obstacle, right? But some weaknesses you can improve on, like a speech impediment, and some will be permanent, like my conditions. But even then, with your conditions, you can improve your life by making different lifestyle choices to make your symptoms less severe, and that's what I've been doing. Some conditions you can't control, but you can always improve on how you live with them. 3 years ago, at the height of my diagnosis, my blood sugar would drop dangerously low, between 50 and 70, every 2 to 3 hours. I couldn't even do one push-up. I was exhausted all the time, and I had to eat every hour, on the hour, just to stay functional. That was when I first was diagnosed, that in the beginning I had to eat every hour. Now it's every 2 to 3 hours. But I learned how to improve slowly, one step at a time. Fast forward to today at 24. I can't believe I'm 24. I still have these conditions, and I'll probably will have them for the rest of my life. And who knows what what other conditions I may have, right? But, and then today, I can do 5 push-ups. I can walk 4 to 5,000 steps a day. I can walk up the stairs 20 times a day, and it's not perfection, it's not a lot of exercise, but it's progress. Later on in this video, I'll talk about how to make progress using the analogy of progressive overload. I'll talk about that a bit later. But I just want to show you that without having a clear goal, a clear foundation, you're going to fail. Because a couple of years ago, at the height of my diagnosis, I was ridden in bed, literally. I would lay in bed all day. I was probably getting an average of 500 steps a day. And so I took it upon myself to become better. Again, I'll talk about later on, I'll go more deeper on how I improved on from doing 1 push-up to 5 push-ups, and how I improved on my physical health. I'll talk about that actually in this unit a bit later. But no matter who you are or what you're dealing with, you can always make your situation better. Making your situation 1% better is better than making it 0%, right? Obviously, we want to do 100%. Obviously, we want all the results, but sometimes you have to compensate and you have to meet yourself in the middle. Whether you improve by 1% or 100%, it still counts. Maybe your goal is to lose 100 pounds, but then somewhere in the process you only end up losing 20 pounds. That's still improvement. Self-improvement is a full-time job. It is working overtime, like it's a 24/7 job. It's not even a full-time job. It's more than 40 hours a week. It's a lifestyle. Later in this video, I will go deeper into how to self-improve when your body has limitations using I just said that before, using the progressive overload method, and how to still make progress regardless of them. Yeah, I just said that about 2 minutes ago. So in section 3 summary, so far what we talked about, inspiration, discipline, and weaknesses, is that when it comes to self-improvement, you need to identify what your inspiration is. Inspiration is the spark that lights up your self-improvement journey. It comes from external sources, movies, music, quotes, shows, or people. It could be real life people that you know. Inspiration is replaceable, it's fun, and it provides vision for your goals. Write down your sources of inspiration and display them visually. Maybe you're inspired by Rocky. Go out and get a Rocky poster and hang it on your wall. If you like Spider-Man, hang a picture of Spider-Man on your wall, right? Or if you like Machine Gun Kelly, hang a picture of Machine Gun Kelly in your room. Discipline. Discipline is a concrete framework. It guides your efforts when inspiration fades. It comes from your personal life, responsibilities, and commitments. Discipline is consistent, eternal, and ensures progress. Use your discipline to reinforce your why and maintain forward momentum. You want to surround yourself with the things you want to improve on. So that's why Unit 1, Section 3 is very important. You need to find your source of inspiration and discipline and write them down. Weakness. Weaknesses are cracks in your foundation, areas that need inspection and improvement. Identify them physically, mentally, and emotionally. So identify what weaknesses you have of the physical, mental, and emotionally. So my physical weakness would probably be my health conditions. My mental weakness would probably be that I have depression. And emotionally, I don't know why I said emotionally and mentally are kind of They can go hand in hand, but they're a bit different. And emotionally, could probably be that I struggle with having self-control. I'm better at I'm at self-control now as compared to a couple years ago. That's still something that I need to still work on. But that is just an example of physical, mentally, and emotionally I'm talking about. A couple years ago, one of my physical or mental and emotionally weaknesses could probably be my speech impediment. Now that is no longer my weakness. Yeah, I still struggle with it. As you guys can probably hear throughout this video, I will slip up, but it's a whole lot better than where I came from before. I really wish I had videos of my voice before. It's horrific. It really is. Weakness can't always be fully eliminated, but they can be managed and improved over time. Acknowledge, track, and work on your weaknesses. They will matter in long-term growth. Because what's the point of doing all of this when you're not improving on your weaknesses? So for this unit, Unit 1, Section 3, this is your homework, right? Know the difference between inspiration, motivation, and discipline. Inspiration and motivation are basically the same thing, right? Write down at least one source of inspiration and one source of discipline. Display these sources visually where you can see them daily. Tape them on your wall, keep them in a notebook, a picture frame, film a video. Add it to your screensaver. Surround yourself with the things that matter to you. Reflect on your discipline. Who or what keeps you going when the motivation fades? Identify your weaknesses, mental, emotionally, or physically. Track weaknesses using a journal, sticky notes, or taping them on your wall. Commit to improving on your weaknesses gradually and consistently. Remember, progress is progress, no matter how small. I want us to watch this one video from Joe Rogan that I seen a couple months ago that I still keep thinking about to this day, and I believe it relates very well.
I like it, man. What I like about it is I'm doing something I don't want to do. Every time I start doing things I don't want to do, I grow.
Yes, that's a lesson that people need to hear and learn. It's so important because everybody just wants to be comfortable. Everybody wants to sit in the car. I don't want to go outside. It's cold. I don't want to do this. It's hot. Like, you've got to do things that you don't want to do because you show your body that your mind is the boss. Your mind is telling your body what to do, and then you have control.
Yeah, Dustin texted me one day. Poirier texted me. He's like, "You can't wait for everything to be okay to live your life." And you ever get a text from somebody who says one of those moments where it fucking gets through to you, you know? And I was like, "Fuck yeah, man."
That's a very point. And obviously, coming from a guy like him, who was, accomplished incredible things and done so in one of the most difficult things to accomplish incredible things. Like, he's a fighter, a fucking cage fighter at the highest level of the game. Talking about a guy who knocked out Conor McGregor. He's a beast.
Oh yeah.
So like his ability to like get things done is exceptional.
Yeah.
He's an exceptional person. And so his understanding of that fact that you can't just wait for things to get perfect. You just go out and do stuff. I always tell people that about working out. Like, fuck your motivation. Fuck your motivation. You need discipline. Because motivation's not there every day. I'm missing motivation most days.
Wow,
Some
really?
days, yeah, sometimes I got motivation. Sometimes I'm like, fuck yeah, today I feel good. I can't wait to get to the gym. A lot of days like, gotta get to the gym. And then once I get going, then I feel great.
Yeah.
And I feel great when it's over. But it's that beginning part that's hard because your body wants to stay comfortable. Your body will trick you. Like, man, today's take the day off. You don't feel good. Theo, what did you get, like 6 hours sleep last night? That's not enough.
Oh yeah, that thing, whatever that is, that guy lives on my shoulder.
Having these three key things in your life, knowing the difference between inspiration or slash motivation, and then discipline are very essential. Inspiration and motivation are great things to have, but at the end of the day, it's the discipline, right? You need to find what keeps you going, whether it's your dog, or maybe your discipline could be your why. You do remember that piece of paper that you wrote back in Unit 1, Section 2? Right? This notebook, this could be your discipline. Your regrets in life, your mistakes in life, the things you want to be, who you want to become, your dreams, your aspirations in life. There's a sentence in my why that I said, I never did anything extraordinary. I want to start self-improvement because I never did anything extraordinary. If you don't have a discipline, maybe this could be a why. You know, go back to that piece of paper that you wrote down in Section 2. This could be your discipline. On the days that you don't feel like going to the gym, read that piece of paper. That could be your discipline. There's another quote that I actually want you to watch too. It's from Rocky Balboa. It's about no matter how hard you get hit, it's about how you can move forward. That's my best Rocky Balboa impression.
This. Well, you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up and say to your mother, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching. Every day was like a privilege. And the time comes
Every day was a privilege.
for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
Amen.
That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
You know, every time I watch Rocky, he always makes me cry. I don't know if you can see it. I'm always shedding a tear. If that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. Wow, that's very powerful. You know, this is what I mean by having an inspiration and motivation. This right here is inspiration, right? This is something that's external, right? This is a form of a movie, a form of a fictional character, right? Your form of inspiration may be something different, but this is what inspires me. Rocky, Spider-Man, right? You need to become better, and you can't let the world knock you down. You can't make excuses anymore in life. You can't. Because that's not how the world is, you know? Like Rocky said, the world ain't all sunshine and rainbows, right? It's not about how hard you can get hit, right? It's about how hard you can get hit and keep, or how many times you can get hit and keep moving forward. So I just want you to think about that. You know, let's actually watch this again, alright?
You started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
Remember that. You're better than that. Remember that. You're better than that. I'm about to cry. You're so much better than that. So this is your homework, right? Know the difference between inspiration, motivation, and discipline. Write down at least one source of inspiration and one source of discipline. Display your inspiration or discipline on your wall in a notebook. Reflect on your discipline. Who or what keeps you going when motivation fades? When that video fades, when that Rocky Balboa quote fades, what is your discipline? My discipline are my dogs. My discipline is my YouTube channel. Identify your weaknesses, track your weaknesses, and commit to self-improvement. Commit to improving on your weaknesses.